to another episode of Boosted Rolls, a War Machine and Hordes podcast focused on EU meta, tournaments and tactics. My name is Tomasz, and I play Circle.
Hi guys, I'm Simon, and I'll be streaming on Twitch starting this Monday on the 14th of October. More details to come. And today with us we have a very special guest. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sverre, and currently I play Retribution, and I just finished the WTC where we apparently won.
Apparently, we've been told. Otherwise, we've been conned and there's no reason to have you on the show. But fortunately, I don't think we have. Before we start, we just want to do a quick plug for an upcoming tournament that's taking place in Norway. So Sverre, take it away. What's going on?
Well, we are hosting the third version of Conquest in the second weekend of January. It's the 10th to the 12th of January. It's hosted at a hotel centrally in Oslo. Of course, being in Norway, it's not super cheap like Poland or one of the Eastern European countries, but still pretty reasonable if you look at plane tickets and the hotel and the fact that the Norwegian krone is quite bad these days compared to the euro, at least.
Is it the same hotel as last time?
Same hotel as the last 2 years. We have 64 spots in total, and it's going to be 3 days of gaming, and we hope to get as many people as possible.
And is that going to be a standard Masters pairing or a triad, or is there?
It's going to be Masters on the Friday. It's going to be a team tournament on the Saturday, and it's going to be some kind of invitationals and some more odd versions of playing on a Sunday.
Okay, and the team tournament, is that a 3-man or a 5-man?
It's a 3-man.
Cool. So hopefully that's everything. Other than to say that, I mean, as Sverre mentioned, it's not the cheapest tournament in the world, but it is certainly one of the best. It's right up there for me with WTC and Lund, which are my two favourites, personally, but Conquest is right up there. Really well organised, especially last year, and a great crowd, and as we've just proven from this year's WTC, quite a strong meta. So strongly recommend people to go and test their mettle at that one. All right, so moving on then, let's have a chat about WTC, or more importantly, let's have a chat about your sort of history with the WTC. How many times have you attended, and how was your performance in previous years?
I've attended twice now, and I've placed second and first.
Second and first. Not a bad run.
Pretty good.
And so did you, because I heard that Norway had a slightly mixed result or bad result last year, so did you miss that one out? You were there 2 years ago and this year? That's
correct. We had a kid last year, so her birthday was, I think, a week before the WTC.
Great timing. So that one sort of knocked you out of the running for last year. Fair enough. And were you how was the setup with the players 2 years ago? Was it the same 5 players? I seem to remember Christian saying that maybe one player was different.
There were 2 different players from this year. We had the team consisted of 2 years ago. It was me and Kuba and Christian. Like this year, and we had Jonas in our team, and we had a player that's quit now. That was called Toro, or Toregel.
Okay, and Jonas is the Crix player, right?
That's correct.
Ah, super. Okay. And what do you think were the biggest differences between those 2 teams? Do you think, obviously I don't want you to say, oh yeah, this guy was much better than him, ha ha ha. But I mean, was there a difference in the dynamic, or was there a difference, in how those teams were made? How are Norway's team put together? Do you try to have a team 1 and a team 2, or is it more regional, or how's it done?
We don't really have that large regions anymore. We used to have metas in Bergen and Trondheim that are more than 5 hours away. Those kind of crashed with Mark III.
Okay.
So currently it's the Oslo meta and the meta in a nearby town called Gjøvik. But Gjøvik is 2 hours away for driving. So we're pretty much one big group. Whenever they decide to come in and play with us. So it's mostly just like a local meta making up most of the teams anyways.
Okay. And how do you decide? Do you sort of elect 2 captains, or do you have a committee, or is it just everyone sits down for a chat, or does everybody just know you've got 10 players and those are the 10 that go, or how does that work?
We have a committee. The rules for choosing the teams have been, a little unclear. It hasn't been anything written down. But it's looking at people's skills and how they've placed in recent tournaments.
Okay. I mean, a lot of countries have problems with this, right? Or it's very difficult to find one system that works the best. You know, some countries have regional stuff, some countries have captains, some have committees, and every system seems to bring its own drama and advantages and disadvantages. So
2 years ago, we made 2 teams that consisted of, we decided the teams finally after picking captains. That was 2 years ago. And we tried to do 2 teams that were about equally good. It was the first year for a lot of us going to the WTC, even though we had experience playing Warhammer at the ETC. We wanted to try to build 2 teams that both had a shot of doing well.
Okay.
Instead of having one team that was supposed to be the best, because we weren't really sure if that would actually help. And we wanted to build like a broader, broaden our meta a bit as well. It was more of a how do we attack this VTC thing?
Okay. And how do you, I guess I'm sort of reading between the lines a little bit, but you didn't want to sort of get that elitist feeling of here are our 5 best and everyone else can get fucked. And then you end up with team 1, team 2, but then you sort of sometimes create division. And from what sounds like when you've got one meta in the whole country, basically centered around Oslo, you've got to really nurture and protect that meta, right? Because if something goes wrong, you're in real trouble.
The plan 2 years ago was to use that VTC to build a platform for further attendance from Norway.
Well, it sounds like you did it.
But last year and this year, we tried the approach of having team number 1 and team number 2 and team number 3.
Okay. And which one did you prefer?
In reality, I feel that there's not that big a difference. There's of course, some players might be stronger on the first or second team, but there's a lot of players that could play in both teams, and a lot of players who could play in the third team or in the second team or in the first team. It's hard to choose, and it seems more of who manages to play a lot after we've chosen them than actually who's the best. Right.
No, I can see that, and I also think as a sort of a proof of what you've just said, I personally had both Norway teams were on my watch list. I put together a list of 12 teams that were worth investigating and sort of looking at their lists in more detail, and both Norway teams made that list. So, as you say, there can't have been a huge difference, at least from my eyes, as an outsider. Looking in, it seemed like both teams were worthy of note. So, it seems like you succeeded in doing what you wanted to do, and that you have a very strong meta overall. You know, that you've produced so many good players in one city or area that you can, field 2 teams is really great.
I think one of the key strengths of the meta is that we have a local club. We're actually about 50 something people who rent what do you call it? Like a business area.
Like a business unit, one unit.
Yeah, one unit, and in town, which is our gaming club.
Right, and you have some sort of membership fee or something like that.
Yeah. We have a monthly membership fee, and everyone can just come around and play as much as they want.
Okay, and have you got a bar in there, or is it like a mini fridge?
Or a fridge, or whatever you call it.
Yeah. I was going to say that seems important. I think in the tabletop world.
Coffee machine and fridge with beer.
Yeah, that's pretty much all you need. Yeah. Great. Okay. So speaking of, where you play and all the preparation and that, how many games did you manage to get this year? Were you happy with your preparation? Did you get as many games as you wanted, or?
I don't think I got as many games as I wanted. But I guess I still got a reasonable amount of games. I think most weeks I play 2 games. Okay. And I go to some cons as well.
So we're looking at somewhere between 100, 200 games.
Yeah, I think closer to the 100 number is probably more correct due to holidays and stuff.
Okay. And were all of those with Retribution, or did you play around during the year with what you might be playing, or what was that like?
I might have had like up to 10 games with Crix this year, maybe, and the rest with Retribution.
And did you play Crix last year for WTC, or did you play Crix?
I played Crix 2 years ago, yeah.
Right, okay. And was that, remind me, was that Ghost Fleet meta, or?
It was Ghost Fleet meta, but I didn't bring Ghost Fleet.
All right. Well, I've got to ask, what did you take?
I took Coven in Banes, and I took Gaspy 1 in Banes.
Okay. Well, I suppose it's that meta is a little bit past now for me to spend too much time on it, but it's an interesting choice. All right, so let's stick with this year. As Retribution on the team, what did you find your role was in the matchup process? So you come into a game, you get given the 5 opposing lists. Did you find that as the Ret you were getting put out first because you lacked weak matchups, or did you have to have a dodge and then were you trying to snipe out particular things, or how did you feel as the Ret player?
I think I have some dodges or some matchups I don't want to play. But I also have a huge advantage of choosing terrain.
Okay.
So what we did was try to steer me into a matchup that it's possible for me to win without the clocks going all over the place. Of course, there's other matchups that are hard as well, but I think the Grimkin with clocks is the most random of those.
Yeah.
Even though it isn't the worst matchup for Reds, it's one of the matchups that can, well, go randomly in a different way than you anticipated.
Okay. And let's talk a tiny bit about what your pairing was for those who don't know, and then we can come back to some more sort of pairing-specific questions. So just briefly run through your pairing for us, please.
Okay. I had Garrett 2 in Defenders of Ios. He had an AFG and a Trident and some Warjacks and some small units. And I had Issyria in Legions with double Tridents and Sentinels and 2 heavies. Okay.
And so was it that pairing that left you a slight weakness into Grimkin, or is it just Retribution in general? Was it something you'd prepared for, or was it something that sort of just occurred to you as you approached the event?
I think it's just Grimkin in general. It's not my pairing specifically. But Grimkin with a lot of clocks is random, especially if they get good terrain or if they just get good stutters.
Yeah, I found the same thing.
So I wouldn't say Grimkin was my worst matchup. It was just one of the matchups that it's hard to say that this and this will happen. Right.
So you can't sort of plan out your 3-2 victory if you don't know what's going to happen on one of the tables.
Yeah, I would say so. Of course, Retribution have a big issue with the Windstorm casters, which was basically why I brought Issyria. Her role is only to play in the matchups that have Windstorm casters and maybe Crucible Guard.
For the Vulcan and for the huge bases in general. Yeah, that's fair. Especially since they can't do anything about the blinding light. So, and how many arc nodes did you have in your Issyria list?
I had 2, but one of them was a heavy.
So a bit more durable. Might not necessarily die immediately.
Yeah, I tried a lot playing the 2 arc node build, the 2 light arc nodes, but I felt the second light arc node did not do enough compared to what I wanted it to do, and it felt so much better when I swapped it out for a Phoenix. Since the first arc node you can just throw away, the second arc node you can put it in a position where he actually has to invest a lot to take it out.
And then what's your backup there? So if he does invest, or if he manages to get onto it, what is it? You just slamming tridents into whatever comes in, or have you
dual trident Imperatus and a full unit of Sentinels and a feat?
Yeah, that tends to do it.
And how did Oblivion affect your pairing? Did you consider changing your list, or maybe pairing, or even the faction?
It definitely changed not my pair by itself, but it changed my lists. I think I briefly considered playing Crix again, but I had played so much Retribution and so little Crix before Oblivion, and I wasn't sure where Crix would land with Oblivion, so I didn't think I had the time to put in enough games to be sure that that was the correct choice. And Garrett 2 is bonkers, so
Yeah.
and he was still in a pretty good place after Oblivion.
And what was it in Crix that attracted you?
Well, I think they have a really good solutions to a lot of the top factions. They have, simply Iacus with double stalkers is great. The theme forces are really good. You can play a lot of casters in Crix compared to what I feel you can play in Retribution. They have stronger units and stronger choices, I feel, than Retribution by itself.
Yeah, definitely more. And they did very well. Looking at WTC stats, the win percentage was up there with the top factions. I think the number of players was affected just by the fact that very little players played Crix before the Oblivion. So after the Oblivion, maybe they felt like they don't have enough time to prepare for WTC with just 1 month. But they are in a strong place now.
Yeah, for me, Crix now feels like you can play all the theme forces and they will be really, really good. Of course, you can't play all the theme forces with whatever caster you want. And some of the theme forces have much less casters you actually want to play there. But it feels like a really, really good thing to play.
Good question, though. Good question. And I just to tag on to that a little bit, how about the Hermit? Was the Hermit an auto-include, or did you have it in both lists, or did you not bother? And how did the Hermit affect your pairing?
It was definitely not an auto-include for me, even though he's friendly faction in Retribution. I didn't take him in Garrett because I think Iris is much better.
Okay.
I took him in Assyria simply because I have a lot of large models that would be nice to give Dark Visions.
Yeah.
And that list was supposed to play into some of the Windstorm casters where Iris 1 will do pretty much nothing.
Right. So it was a planned tech choice, not just sort of a windmill slam. Oh, I'm Retribution, so I can put a Hermit in.
Yep.
And when we say Windstorm casters, we really mean just Kruger 2 and Aldwych, right?
Yep.
I mean, can you think of another Windstorm caster that sees play?
I can't think of any other Windstorm casters at all.
I don't know.
I thought you
were maybe... I did too much. It's Aldwych 2, Aldwych 3, and Kruger.
Yeah, those are the only ones I'm aware of. But I mean, someone's definitely going to come and correct us, aren't they? Like, no, you forgot about this unknown caster in Trolls that no one ever plays. It's like, oh, get fucked. Like, you're playing Trolls, your opinion doesn't matter, go away. Right.
Poor guys.
Indeed. In your Gareth 2, you had 1 Trident and 1 AFG. And that was slightly less represented than the double Trident version, I think. I don't want to be taken out of context if I'm wrong about that, but I think it was. And so did you at all regret not having the second Trident, or did you love your AFG? Like, just talk me through that a little bit.
I love my AFG. That's never going out of the list. And I did not regret not having my second Trident. It was a choice made before the WTC after trying some different things. The Trident is really, really good when it's working, but sometimes it isn't, and it takes a lot of board space, and it threatens a set amount of distance always. Whereas having a heavy instead allows you to do something different. Garrett 2, for me, feels like if he takes a double Trident build, he's getting better into some matchups which you already feel pretty good into. You have some games go against you because you roll shit for the Trident's either power tokens or shots. But definitely it would be better in some matchups as well. So it feels, well, more probably for me, more of a thing I'm more comfortable having the Banshee there to have some proper melee power, to have something more that can move with Road to War that actually gets in your face.
Yeah, something that can benefit as well from Mage Sight, maybe, or little things that maybe don't apply to battle engines but do apply to heavy.
Sure.
Did you test out a double Trident and AFG build?
Yes, I did. It felt okay on the tables that you were already good on, but it felt a little worse in some of the tables with a lot of big buildings on them or big forests. Where Mage Sight ignores the forest for the Banshee and it has Pathfinder. It just feels...
So terrain-wise?
It just feels strange on some of the tables to get to place your 2 tridents in good positions.
Fair.
And do you use the Theme Force wall on top of it?
I don't use my wall because I can't place it correctly.
So you don't place it at all? Not even where the ambush would be or something like that?
I didn't even bring it for the WTC.
That's brilliant. I always like Ben Hampshire's use of the wall, which is that he would put it just on the ambush line. Yeah. To remind himself where the ambush could reach, or he would stick it like in the 3-inch deploy so that they just got slightly less.
Seems reasonable, but for me, when I tried playing the wall when it came out a few games, and I fucked it up again and again. I placed it somewhere I might have wanted to place something else afterwards, like a trident or an FG. So I just figured, fuck this. I just want to play my list better. This wall fucks me up. I don't have time to place a wall in a good position and not fuck it up for myself.
I was playing Retribution for my teammates so they can get some practice before WTC, and I was playing Gareth too, double tridents, and I think third turn I asked my opponent if I can just remove it because it's fucking my whole turn up.
Yeah. I think like the odd chance, well, sometimes you might need it, but a lot of games you end up placing it somewhere where you have like you already have a wall or you have a building or you have something else and it just gets in the fucking way.
Fair enough. All right. So going back to pairing and some list decisions that you made, when we were in Czech Republic for a training round a few months ago, you had a version with a unit of infantry, I've forgotten the names, instead of the Harpies. Was it the House Guard, something or other? I
actually had Elwer Swordsman, a unit that probably doesn't see much play.
Right, okay. And so what was the thinking behind that, and why did you drop them for the Harpies, and was that the right choice in the end?
I needed them to get full requisition before Oblivion.
Ah, so they were just an Oblivion, a pre-Oblivion thing, and after that, they were just thrown immediately out of the list.
They could have been a second trident probably, but I didn't like it at the time either, so I didn't bother going for the second one at that time.
Fair enough. And I noticed that in both lists you had double ghost snipers, or at least one ghost sniper in each list. Were they there sort of slightly with the Hermit in mind, or are they just that good on their own?
I think they're that good on their own, and what makes them auto-include for me is that they're free.
And what are your other three free options?
In Legions, not that great. And in Defenders, well, Iris is free, which is nice.
Yeah, you tend to go with that.
But after Iris, not that great. Or Snipers, those are really good.
Oh, okay. So it's like it's a combination of them being reasonably good and the fact that they happen to be the best free option.
Yeah, you take two for one. So it's a 6-point package where you get 2 models that you might take anyways. You might not as well, I think, if you didn't get them for free. But since you get them for free and they're one of the best free choices in both of those lists, you just take them.
Fair. Okay. So the last thing before we get on to the travel and all the preparation at the and your venue impressions and all that sort of stuff, I just want to cover your sort of role in the team. And from what I understand from what the others have said, that you were very much the captain of the team, and you'll be glad to know that they all praised you for your role as captain, but also that you, along with Martin, were in charge of the pairing process, the sort of matchup process. And sadly, we're not going to get the chance to speak with Martin, so we're going to have to just sort of pile all these questions on you, I'm afraid. They've been kindly deferring all questions to Sverre in all of the episodes. So, and this is a part that I really love. I really find this really interesting. So, when you were going in, can you just remind me, you had double Menoth, Retribution, Grimkin, and Legion, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you had, from what I heard, you had some slight issues because your Legion didn't necessarily want to go into some shooty lists because he's Legion, and your Grimkin didn't take Old Witch, so you maybe had a slight hole in the shooting department, shall we say. How did you try to deal with that? What was the plan? What was the thinking?
We did look into Old Witch earlier, as Juan might have talked about, but we decided that it wasn't important enough.
You felt that anti-shooting wasn't important enough?
No. Because for us, it feels like Child can play into a lot of the shooting matchups if she gets the right table. Or even if she just doesn't get the wrong table, she can play into the same matchups. But she plays it in a way that it's less obvious to understand it than having the Old Witch tree in your pair. Mm-hmm. And the Serenia list is really good into shooting armies. Okay. And we also have Harby that can play a lot of the shooting armies. Retribution can also play into a lot of the shooting armies.
Which shooting armies does Retribution not want to see?
I think the hardest is to play against Siege 1.
Okay.
The Mirror is okay. The Crucible Guard is pretty good. And so there aren't really that many more really. Well, Rashetta is okay for Retribution as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Syria especially.
Right. You can just blind their battle engines and then things get a lot better.
I'm blind to battle engines. I have Arcane Vortex, so I'm not that out for his assassination cider.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I can keep a spell off my tridents if he tries to reduce their armor.
Yeah, the Blood Boon, is it?
Yeah.
No, Blood Boon is when you cast a spell for free. What's Blood Mark?
Sure. I can't remember. It's minus 2 armor.
I think it's right. Yeah, it's minus 2 armor, and he can transfer once to you, right? I think it's Blood Mark. Okay. So,
and Harvey can play us into them quite a bit as well. And Cuba had his off list as Krios 1. That is also actually okay into a lot of shooting armies.
Okay, so if shooting wasn't your weakness, or it wasn't a big problem,
it definitely was a weakness in the pairing because we had to make sure that Martin didn't get it.
Right.
But it didn't feel like we needed to sort it in any other way because even if we took more anti-shooting armies in our pairing, he still didn't want to play into shooting.
Yeah. That wouldn't change much. It would just make it harder to dodge if more than one person needed to dodge, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think also that if you put out like the super hard dodges for the shooting armies, they will dodge them. If you have a lot of armies that are okay into the shooting armies, I think you're better off.
Okay. Was your direction? What was your direction to the team? So in England Lions, our direction was make sure that you have a balanced pair that has as few dodges as possible. We don't necessarily need you to have a huge amount of like 2+ wins. We just need you to not have many dodges, and you should try not to share dodges with other players. So that we don't have a big problem with one particular list. So that was like our sort of vague preparation strategy. What was yours? Did you have like, we want you to target this, or we want everybody balanced, or what was the plan?
I think the plan evolved during the summer. We don't really allow any player to choose their own list by themselves.
Okay.
Of course, they have a lot to say in it, but in the end, it feels like we need to decide as a team which list we want to bring. Factor in, of course, what people want to play, but it's not like we take these directions and make your lists.
Okay, so you have a pretty constant discussion up until the list lock.
Yes, we do. I think we had like weekly discussions with meetings, maybe 3 or 4 meetings before list lock. To just go through our list in common, see this list we like, this list needs to change. We have problems here. Can we sort it some way, or do we need to just ignore it?
And did you run some simulations in those meetings? Did you sort of sit down and say, right, let's say we meet Double Scorn, Grimkin, Menoth, Circle team. How do we play that out? What happens? Oh, God, we have a problem here. Or was it just sort of a more general discussion?
I did some really, really easy simulations just by myself. But we have team games during the year where we play the other team.
Yep.
Which helps. We had team games at Lund, which really helped as well.
Yep.
But we haven't done like a super simulation in that sense. But we do the theory of it. We talk about it.
Okay, cool. And what was Martin's role in the pairing? Because everybody sort of said that it was you and Martin. So what was his role? Was he there as like a sounding board, or were you his sounding board? Or how did the what's the word? God, English teacher over here. The rapport between you two, how did it work out?
It was a dual cooperation where me and Martin try to decide what is the best. And it's usually me suggesting things and Martin coming with his input, which is really valuable. And sometimes he agrees with me, sometimes he disagrees, and he explains it well. And we end up with a consensus. Actually, always end up with a consensus.
And what's his gaming background? Does he come from a particular genre of game? Or and the same question for you, by the way. Do you have a particular gaming background that you came into War Machine from?
We both came from Warhammer.
Fantasy or 40k?
Warhammer Fantasy.
Okay. And before that, did you know each other, or is that where you met?
That's where we met. We've both been playing Warhammer Fantasy for ages.
Okay.
Before they decided to fuck it up.
Fair enough. And I'm guessing that's the point at which you switched to War Machine. So that's
they released some shit game instead, and we decided to fuck this. We want to play game, not to toss around children's toys.
I sympathize.
I have a question about the tables. So when we played together, we rolled the dice, and you said as quickly as you could say tables. So was it something that you would choose no matter how your pairing grid looks like, or was it something that you were deciding after the roll?
I think in most cases we will choose tables. It has to be something super special for us not to choose tables. I think our lists are so good that if we get to choose tables, it will be much more valuable than choosing matchups.
So what would it need to be for you to choose matchups?
I guess if people had probably double shooting list and double windstorm armies, maybe.
All right. We had a double shooting list and double windstorm.
Not really. Come on.
Theoretically, they did, though.
Yeah. Aldwych 3 and Kruger 2 were the windstorm casters, and we had Crucible Guard, and we had mercenaries as gun lines.
Sure, but they weren't in the kind of ways that we were that afraid.
You weren't too scared of Crucible Guard and Double Blockader because you had Assyria, right?
Yeah, it wasn't the shooting armies we were afraid of.
All right. Mm-hmm. All right.
So it wasn't to say that you had two shooting armies, but it was the shooting armies for us. The shooting armies that Legion is really, really afraid of is Retribution and Siege 1.
All right.
And Rasheth, no?
And some of the Rasheth lists, sure. It doesn't feel amazing into like some of the other shooting armies either, but those are also easier to solve with terrain.
Okay.
Fair enough. And do you think the table choice is just strictly better? And do you have any ideas how would you balance it for the future?
I think as it is now, with the tables being so skewed, which is really nice, I think, tables are better. But tables are only better as long as you manage to have 5 people in a team that can play into most things.
Okay. So if people have skewed pairings, they're going to suffer a bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think if they have 2 skewed pairings, they want to choose matchups. Or if they don't really have that skewed pairings, but they meet another team that they don't really feel they have solutions for. Or they feel like they had some really good solutions that they want to get, and some matchups that are like okay no matter what. Mm-hmm. I think one of the big skewers for tables is Crix. We didn't have it in a team, but we saw that 2 years ago. We had double Crix, and they just fuck up the table choice. We didn't choose tables at all because double Crix with a lot of ghostly just runs through all the buildings all the time.
So it doesn't matter what table you put them on, therefore, you pick the tables, we don't give a damn, we're going to pick 3 good matchups and then crush you.
Yep.
Right. Okay, so if we see a switch in the meta, we might see a switch in people just auto-picking tables, but for now, tables are the way to go.
Or just a switch in how the tables are built, I think.
That seems unlikely given the amount of money that are invested in those packs, I guess.
Sure.
I mean, it would be interesting, but I think it's unlikely just from a logistical standpoint.
Or a different replacement for hills than what they did.
Yeah, how did you feel about that? I wasn't a huge fan because I felt. I mean, it didn't affect me. I've got Pathfinder and everything, but I felt like it was a bit shit for the factions that didn't.
I think it was okay, but it made for more killing fields than usual.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons I also think Ret was really good at WTC this year, because we had a lot of good maps.
Yeah, hills would have made your trident shots a little bit more iffy, right?
Yep.
Just having some rough terrain, it's like, well, give a shit.
Yeah. So that's a huge difference, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would help also against clockatrices, so Grimkins were a bit better. Like the beach table was like really, really open. There were like just difficult terrains and some trenches, but not trenches, the rubbles, but really just rough terrain.
I think also the terrain placement on the tables would have been important. A lot of the the lake table, the one with 3 lakes and acid pool, had a big forest and it had a rubble, but they were usually placed in spots where they didn't really matter that much.
I've noticed that too. I was thinking whether it's because of the new steamroller or they wanted to open the middle.
I think if the forest there would have been placed centrally on more tables, it would matter more.
Yeah.
As a table itself, and maybe skewed things a different way, because that's no longer a killing field in the same way it was for us most of the games.
I mean, I think Privateer Press made a mistake removing hills in the first place. So I think they should have removed a bunch of the elevation rules, sure. And like, there's some hidden rule in the, like, if you actually fall, there's like fall damage and stuff that no one ever does. And most people don't even know exists. And now it doesn't because they've removed hills. But I think hills were the only thing that had any impact against sprays. Mm-hmm. And sprays are the ranged attack that just break the game. They just say, look, we are the exalted of ranged attacks. We ignore every rule that exists. We don't give a fuck. And, here you go, have some sprays. And so hills were really important because they were your only refuge against that. So builds like Marcin's double blockader, you felt a lot better with a few hills about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
80 million clockatrices with Rat 6 against hills, you'd suddenly feel a bit better.
I agree as well. I think sprays are too good now.
Yep.
Compared to the terrain.
They were already a bit too good. Like.
Yeah, I do wish they didn't really remove the hills and just said it granted arcing fire, for instance.
Yeah, arcing fire and plus 2 defense.
Plus 2 defense and arcing fire. It's strange that a hill gives plus 2 defense, but that's more of the theory of it than the gameplay of it.
I suppose if you were firing, like if it was fantasy and you actually had to get a bow and arrow and had to get the arrow up onto the top of the hill, then fair enough, you're going to lose some velocity and maybe it should be -2 power rather than -2 accuracy. But like we're getting off topic. Either way, they should have kept the +2 def.
But back to the choice between terrain and matchups, I think in this meta, as long as you don't bring a 5-man team that has a lot of skews, you're better off choosing terrain.
Yeah, I think most of us have agreed on that. I don't think anyone's really gone up against it, except Poland Center. Poland Center seemed to give people tables quite a bit. I still think that's a mistake, but they did it.
Yeah, they chose matchup 6 times, and they still got 2nd place, so they couldn't be that wrong.
I think it depends on your team as well.
Yeah, so I spoke with them about this, and they said they basically built their list so the terrain wouldn't cripple them. Mm-hmm. So if you look at their list, there are a lot of flying war beasts, like... A Circle has Griffins and Stormraptor. Grim can have a lot of clockatrices, of course. Scorn player reduced number of huge bases from his list by 1. Yep. And we know they can go incorporeal and ignore a lot of the terrain. Mm-hmm. Like Manov didn't play the Judicator, so it was easier to maneuver around. But even that, I think... Even if I wouldn't care about the terrain that much, I wouldn't give it to my opponent just because they might care.
Yeah, I'm fully in agreement. I think they're wrong, but I accept that they might be less wrong than other teams because of the way that they tried to deal with terrain. But as you say, they had a pretty good result, so who knows? One last question before we move into the round by rounds and the other stuff. we had a double Grimkin, double Circle, and a Menoth in our team. And it led to some interesting decision-making because both of our circles basically shared the dodge of Harbinger, and neither of us particularly wanted to see Zal. And so, but on the flip side, our Grimkins were delighted to see Harbinger. In fact, they were one of our better drops there. And we ended up finding that worked out really well for us because it meant we could put down our circles relatively early. And if they ever tried to put Harby into it, we would pick the other matchup and then slam double Kin into the Harby player and watch them cry. You had double Menoth in your pairing. And from what I've heard from Kuba and Christian, they did share some good and bad matchups because their lists were in some ways similar. Did you have some strategies where you did that, where you held back double Menoth in order to slam something, or did you never really do that so much?
We didn't really get to slam them, but we gave them you can take this Menoth or this Menoth, and you don't really like either of them. But it didn't feel like the slam. It felt like more of a, this seems pretty good for us, no matter which Menoth you chooses, and so that was okay. But I still think, yes, their lists have similarities, but they also have different strengths, probably, which were more important, I think, for us than their similarities.
Okay. And did you have someone that you led with most of the time? If
yes.
you were forced to lead?
We led a lot with Christian.
Okay. Why was that?
Because he can play his Serenity list into most people.
But that seems unusual because, like, the person that you go out first is guaranteed a dodge. So why would you waste the person who has the fewest dodges? Wouldn't you want to put someone out who needs a dodge?
Okay, sure. Depends on if you choose tables or not. If you say we choose, I was thinking if you said as a lead, that it would be under the impression that we didn't choose tables.
Wait, no. If you choose tables, you lead, don't you?
Sure. I just misunderstood.
Okay, yeah.
No, in that case, we would try to put out, and it was actually round to round because it was so important compared to the opponent's team.
Okay.
In some cases, we went out with Legion. In some cases, we went out with Menoth, and we didn't really have a set way for it.
Right. Okay.
No, not really. It was much more about the opponent's team than anything else.
We found ourselves leading out Harbinger, almost every time that we led. Because it was like, well, he's only ever got one thing that he needs to dodge, and it's Grimkin. So we just put him out, dodge the Grimkin, take whatever else, and then we sort of get to dictate the matchups from there.
Sure.
And also, he was the one person that just had the fewest dodges. We had our two Grimkins that basically said we don't need to dodge anything. And we had the two circles that were saying we've got two dodges each and they're the same. And that's not great. And so I ended up playing a lot of circle mirrors because that was sort of how I, it just ended up being. Anyway, right, That's enough about matchups and stuff like that. So, Tomáš, did you want to do the travel and prep bit and then we'll move on to the round by rounds?
I guess we can skip the travel.
Yeah. You traveled with the team, right, Sverre?
Yeah, we all traveled together.
Great. So we've already heard that story. We can skip straight past it. But just quickly, what was your impression of the venue? Because it was the same venue. You've been at the same venue both times.
Yep.
So quick impressions of the venue, of the staff, of the hosting of the event.
I think the venue is great. I think the guys from Belgium hosting were doing an amazing job. It's spacious. Sorted, there's food. They have schedules that actually work. Mm-hmm. I have nothing bad to say about it. They did a really good job. Traveling from Norway, okay, you have to take the train from Belgium out to Blankenberg.
Oh yeah, sure.
I wasn't really a big hassle either. When you're going
your flight connections into Brussels or into Charleroi?
Our flights were just to Brussels.
Okay, nice.
But
cool.
No, I like that. I like that venue. It's a good venue.
Yeah.
So did you get some sleep before day one?
I got some sleep before day one. Important
awesome.
Part.
All right. So you wake up, you go downstairs, you eat breakfast, and the round one starts. Who do you get, and what was the tactics against the opponent's team?
We got France in the first round.
Which France?
France Obelix, which is the second team for France, I think. And, well, our tactics into it were, I can't really remember our tactics because we drew them out and we went, okay, game phase on, we need to get our shit together. But it felt like we got a lot of okay matchups.
It's like, Martin, stop drinking. It's only 10 o'clock.
Oh, yep. So it felt like we had a lot of matchups that we could win. I think we misunderstood the Mordekar versus Harbinger thing a little bit. But other than that, it felt like matchups we were pretty okay with. Exception probably was me into Harvey.
What do you mean?
I played Retribution into Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be quite good before Archons came out. But Archons fuck up that matchup quite a bit.
All right.
But you had practice games against Cuba, right?
Oh, yeah, I have plenty of practice games against Cuba. It's not a lack of practice.
All right.
It's just Archons being a massive fucker.
It's just a problem of Archons, because earlier I felt you could control the list much more. I think pre-Oblivion, that game was so much in Agarith's favor. After Oblivion, it was okay. But then the Archons came out and it went from okay to being, oh, fuck, this is not great.
Specifically, what is it about them that causes trouble for you? Because they've got a million different rules and stats and everything. But which part of it bothers you?
Well, firstly, they're a model that can charge into your feet with Garrett and just go shrug, because they're def 15 when you shoot them, and you don't get aiming bonuses for your feet, so you're looking at like 8s at the best to shoot them.
Right.
They have a gazillion shield guards, and when you actually kill something, they get both Vengeance and Righteous Vengeance.
Yeah.
And they're 8 points. Did I say that? They're fucking 8 points. They should have been 12. There's a reason we took 8 in our team.
There's an interesting thing that one of the few people that I've found that thinks that Archons are balanced is Pat. And I was like, I'm really surprised, because you're quite good at this game, Pat. Slightly good. And
they just have too many rules.
Yeah, they've got everything.
And I think especially in a list where you struggle to kill the things around them, because you have to get to them. And then you trigger Vengeance and Righteous Fury. That's not
just
great.
Trigger the world.
Yeah, and Harvey goes, Crusaders call, fuck you.
I remember during one of our games, our Menoth player was explaining to the opponent about his rules, and he was like, right, so just so you know, if you kill that guy, you're going to trigger Righteous Vengeance on this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. You're also going to trigger, the other one on this one, this one, this one, and this one, and this guy's going to be really angry. Yep. But, feel free. Oh, my God, it's just depressing.
Yeah, Pat is playing the faction that he can avoid actually triggering all those rules because he has the Dreamer. But
Phantasm.
Yeah, everyone else is just fucked. It's like having Lord of the Fist pre-nerf for 8 points with some additional rolls and twice.
Yep.
Because why not?
But the game against France went well for us.
So who was your opponent?
I played Julien, the Harvey player.
Okay. And how did it go?
It went well for me. I killed him top of 2.
Okay. That sounds like user error.
Well, he hadn't really played that much against the Morose version before.
Okay.
And I taunted him into going for the Dispel on Road to War.
Purification, you mean?
Yep.
Right.
I've done it to Cuba. You can tell you how funny things it is. And how many times
you're just sitting like 3 inches out of purification range, taunting him to come into it, and then Morosing him in the face.
You basically see how far up do you want to go with Harvey? Do you really want to go up here and cast purification? Okay, then you're in range of most of my shooting in Moros.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about Moros?
I can, sure. I think Moros is one of the key elements of that Garrett 2 list.
Why?
Because it gives you board space against a lot of casters. It's not that he does that much work himself, but he gives you board space.
Yeah, and how does he give you board space? Is it just the assassination threat?
It's just that the threat range of him is, in theory, 18.
All right.
He makes people think where to place their stuff. And against a shooting army, I do want you to use your time to think about where you place your stuff. And if you don't push them as far up or spread them out more than you usually would, or clump them really hard together as well. All of those are okay for me. Or if you just use your clock to place your models correctly, that's good for me as well, because I need my clock to shoot you up.
All right. So do you consider him an auto include in your army?
I think so for Garrett too. Also because in some situations you can, before feed, go in with Morose and do paralysis and then shoot people up, even though you haven't had defeat.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also a good control piece against some of the Colossals, or some of the huge bases that can get paralyzed and you can't shake it.
So how do you use him usually? Because from what I hear from you, he has similar role that Lord of the Fist had before nerf. So controlling just the board and making opponent's caster to be more cagey, to spend more clock to protect against him. Do you use him like a slingshot when you get the chance to get some good value trade, or do you try to keep him to the very late to get value from him by controlling the board?
A lot of games I use him to threaten the board space early, and I just cast him away for
you launch him like a Roshan Brine missile, sort of.
Yeah, I just launch him somewhere, and then people have to deal with him, and he's not that easy to deal with, especially if you shoot up all the things close to him afterwards.
Do you feel that he's well balanced?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he's not super overpowered. People are forgetting the fact that he doesn't get acrobatics outside of Garrett's control range.
Okay.
So they fuck up how they place their stuff. They think they have acrobatics all the time, but it's in Garrett's control range.
I'm pretty sure I've been cheated.
But he's still he's power 15 with power up, but that's a 13-point package, not a 11-point package, which is the cost of him. He's really good with Road to War and the plays and the power up, and like all the stuff on him is really good if you get like everything on him. But it's still
all slots nicely into the list.
Yeah, but it's still, I think still Morose is just okay value. He's more of an auto include, not because he's so cheap or so good for his points. It's more like he gives you some tools that the list doesn't have otherwise.
Okay, he provides space, time, and caster pressure, which the Tridents need to do their thing.
And has parry, so you can't really parry acrobatics. So if you engage him, and when I play him defensively, he'll just go wherever he wants anyways. Just a good piece to set up semi high on the table and allow your opponent to go I'll go up, and they sometimes forget that you can't really place anything in the way. He still goes where he wants to, killing like a odd solo or just something like that.
Or just crashing into a light and dinking it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
And what are some good ways to counter him?
I think you don't need to counter him that much. You just need to place something in front of your caster so I can't really land him.
All right, block the landing zone.
Yeah, block the landing zone, but you need to block it with something I can't shoot up. That's the hard part for most people.
Sounds like Lord of the Fist again.
Yeah, well, but he's not that dangerous when you compare it. I would say he doesn't kill any casters by himself. So, and a lot of people also forget that he doesn't kill your caster if they don't have any follow up.
Right, if you're not going to get some shots in as well, it's not enough just him. I mean, I have died to him on his own, but it's usually plus something.
Well, if you're a Fury caster and you're camping 2, you're okay. If you're a focus caster and you're camping 2, you're okay against Smoros as well. Usually, unless you have super, super, super bad stats or something like that.
So camp a bit.
Or having a shield guard, or there's many ways to play against him. You just need to. I think it's more of an experience thing, where he's a tool that you need to play against to know how to place against.
Right. Don't overreact. Don't underreact. It's just one of those where you've got to try and learn the balance through time, and then.
It's like the first times you play against something with admonition and counter charge, you fuck it up.
Yeah. Okay. So, game 1 was yourself against a Harvey player. He was maybe less experienced. You baited him in with some purification. He comes forward, and you blast the crap out of him. And get more onto him.
Basically. And I think he also forgot the fact that one of... he had 6 shield guards camping 4.
Right.
But I can kill off 1 unit of shield guards with mortality before I started going in on Harpy.
And how easy is it to land that mortality?
Super easy.
Yeah? With Gareth, you just shoot, apply the witch mark, and then pop it on for free, basically.
No, I don't shoot it. I cast it.
Oh, you just literally walk up and cast it? Oh, no, you've got an arc node.
No, I don't have an arc node. I walk 7. I cast it at range 12 because of Silas.
Uh-huh. And you could theoretically be tridented up.
I could, but I rarely need to do that. When you threaten 19 with mortality, it's usually good enough. And
what do you need to roll to hit an initiate? Oh, because at 12 you're outside of awe, so...
And it's sense importance.
And sense importance and boosted. So I roll... I need to roll a 7 on 4 dice, remove the lowest.
Right. So you land the mortality, then you murder 3 of the shield guards, and then what were you doing about... I mean, still, 3 remaining shield guards and 4 camp sounds like he had a chance.
Well, I have full trident and morose and
do they
double,
deal with
double harpies and double harpies.
Okay. So it was just in range of everything, basically.
And even though he has camp, he still takes boxes.
Yeah, sure. He is low armor.
Yeah, it's 14-14, and sure, you need to hit him. But in the end, I also got to paralyze him with Moreau's gun because he didn't know about that. So.
Oh, he didn't shield guard that.
Nope. I waited for him to use his shield guard, and then instead of going in with Moreau's and melee, that would have been much more tricky because of place from Trident and stuff. I just went to shoot him with Moreau's and shot him off the table with Trident afterwards.
Right. Yeah, well, once you land the paralysis, it's game, yeah. Fair enough.
How did he know he didn't know about the paralyze?
I didn't know that he didn't know. I just waited with Moreau's and just did it.
Because it didn't make sense to get him there earlier, so to paralyze?
Sure, but I had harpies that I could move with Road to War so they could aim on Harpy.
All right.
Because they threatened 14 with the AOG, and then they moved 3, so they actually threatened 17 before you start with aiming.
All right, and you need 6s to hit? So
you need 6s to hit. And you can just try to go for the 6s and boost damage if you... And both have 2 focus. And shoots twice.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, makes sense.
It's a very solid kill, I imagine. I mean, I haven't bothered putting it in odds machine, but it's probably in the 90s, I would imagine.
Yeah, it feels like just the knowledge of the details in the list are so important. Julian had played against Garrett a few games, but he hadn't really played against the Moreau's version. I play Cuba a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I tried a trick that I used in Cuba, and it worked out.
Oh, cool. All right. So going into round 2, who was your opponent, and how did it go?
In round 2, we met Finland Sibelius, I think.
Yeah, Finland
it's
won.
Finland won. We got to choose tables, which was good for us. I think we got matchups that were good for us as well. They fucked up the Krios 1 and 2 Serenia matchup. They thought that was okay for them. It's really, really, really bad for them.
How quickly did he find out? Was it like turn 2 when he just goes,
turn 2. He figured like, I'm fucked. And he laughed it off like a boss. So honor to him.
Fair enough. Just looks over at his teammates and just shakes his head.
Yeah. They also had the Kruger one against Callus. We had Callus for Martin.
Okay.
We feel comfortable into that. I think they also felt that they had an option there. But again, I think it boils down to the details in the list. Our Callus list had just a Blackbringer and double Cav instead of Golub. Mm-hmm. I think Kruger 1 deals more easily with the less Cav version than he does with the lots of Cav version.
Yep.
So I think we felt okay going into to playing after pairing, and we also choose tables. I got to play against Dreamer on the what I call the murder fields.
Which is the beach table.
Lake table.
Oh, lake table, right.
Because I mostly ignore clouds as well, and the forest because of Mage Sight. And he had a version with 2 clocks, and I feel much better into less clocks than I feel into a lot of clocks.
Okay, so he had the sort of Pat's old version, the 222.
Yes, he did.
Right. Okay.
I play that matchup a lot. It's hard for Dreamer on a open board.
Okay, and it was on bunkers. So did it go to scenario, or did you kill Dreamer, or how did the match progress?
I won in scenario, but I won in scenario because of attrition.
Okay, so he just couldn't come in enough, and you were shooting him off.
Yeah. It's so hard for Dreamer in that version of the list to engage Gareth in a meaningful way.
And is that just because, like, on the one turn when he might be able to do it, you can feat?
Well, sure to feat, but it usually doesn't get that far either, to be honest. He usually isn't able to, in the 2 Cage Raiders, 2 Skins, 2 Clocks list, to engage in a meaningful full way, because my army just scatters out.
Even with, like, Crabbit Sacrifice stuff and all that sort of nonsense, it just doesn't work?
Nope. I shoot so hard.
Right. Okay.
Basically, if the Clocks didn't have anywhere to hide on the table, so he only has the Artifice of Deviation.
Mm-hmm.
And if he pushes the Clocks out of that, they instantly die.
Uh-huh. That's a hell of a shooting list.
Well, I can start off doing 9 boxes with snipers.
That's pretty good.
And if he moves outside of the chariot, Garrett does dice plus 5.
It's like, right, well, that's the start of the turn. Let's see what else we got.
Yeah. So it's not great. And the shield guards are a problem as well, because if you place them high on the table, I just shoot them off first.
Right.
And if it doesn't play them high on the table and pushes something else up first, I just ignore them until they come up high on the table and I shoot them off the table.
Okay. So he really needs terrain, and since you were picking tables, he just wasn't going to get it.
He needed a better table for that list, and it's better for him with more Clocks. But the table was shitty for him, super shitty.
Well, I mean, that was by design, so fair enough. All right. Yep. Going into round 3, who did you get, and how did it go?
We played Canada Moose, which I think for us was one of the probably hardest rounds for us. Mm-hmm. Not because the other teams weren't, or not Canada Moose was so much better than the other teams we faced later, but we got off to a rocky start, and it just didn't feel good during the rounds. I think a lot of the other rounds we got off to an okay start for the round. Like when you go off into a round and you start winning some of your games, you feel like, okay, just someone close the last of this can be okay. Right.
But this was the first one where it was getting gritty and it was not looking necessarily locked in. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Had you made a mistake during the pairing process? Had you was there something you could have done?
We did some mistake during the pairing as well. We chose tables. I think they got pretty good pairings against us as well. And we did some mistakes during the games. I played against Scorn with Sal 2.
Okay. How does Retribution play into that? Is that a good one for you?
It's not a good one. It depends a lot on his setup. But the problem for me is that I haven't really played against the double Supreme Guardian with Hermit. So he has double vision as well. Vision.
Yeah. So the more recursion-based list, yeah.
Yeah, so there's more recursion, and he also has double vision. So what I need to do, I need to kill one of the Guardians before he feeds.
Yeah.
And I fuck it up. I start rolling badly, and I swap my plans to kill dudes instead, which is the wrong plan.
Right.
And then he can push things into my face and feet.
So just for a bit of context, you're on Spread the Net. You've got to pick the tables, is that right?
Yep.
You've picked a killing field.
I picked the killing fields.
Yep. And then he's got to go first or not?
He's got to go. No, I started actually.
By choice, or he gave it?
Do you remember? I can't remember.
All right. So you basically get to run the whole shooting gallery up out of his range. Well, sort of up the table where whatever he does, he's coming into your guns. Right.
Yep.
He then comes into your guns and doesn't feed?
Yes, he doesn't push as far. He pushes just a little up on the table, which is a good play from him.
And holds the feet.
And holds the feet. Then he has vision on the one guardian I can reach with a lot of my army, and the hermit as well. And I start off trying to do some boxes with my harpies. They shoot twice with 2 focus each, and should do some boxes. They do none between them. They should do like 10.
And is it completely pointless to try and get mortality on at this point? Like there's just too much arcane vortex. Are the guardians within 3?
I can never get mortality off on that target. On
he
the
was killing
guardians.
his own guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
But even if he wasn't like sacrificing, he can stop the first one, and then I need to have to do the second one, and I'm camping nothing. He can assassinate me probably in returns as well. It's not great.
Okay.
And
so you've just got to lay guns into him and hope that it works. Which in this case it wasn't working. And at what point did you switch plan?
I swapped plan after my harpies failed. And swapping plan
that quickly. So it was like 2 harpies, bang, 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 nothing happens. Oh shit! Switch to the guys.
Yep. And it was just wrong. And after that, I killed a lot of his guys, but I failed to kill 1 or 2 that I would have wanted to kill as well. Then I swapped plan for a 3rd time and kill his agonizer.
Okay.
To take away his +2/+2 for the turn after.
Yep.
So that was okay. But not staying on the Supreme Guardian is wrong. So he runs everything in my face and feet, and I go like, fuck. Okay, my only shot here is killing Saul under his feet. He hasn't placed him inside of Arcane Vortex from the Guardians, so there's an option. But my dice flunks me. I don't think that it wouldn't have been better than maybe 50-ish, something like that. Maybe 50, 60. It wasn't great. I do a mistake of trying to give Morose the power within the Guardian. He can dispel that. I didn't know that he could dispel my spells cast on myself.
Yeah. I used to get caught with that with stuff like Golab. Yep. You know, you're like, right, I'll sprint. He's like, nope, shit.
Yep. So fuck that up. But most importantly, the Trident rolled not that great, and I actually decided not to boost damage until the last shot, and I rolled double once in the last shot. He had 1 token. So yeah, not great.
This sort of okay. But at what point were you in the round at that point? So when you lost your game, was that really putting the pressure on your last player, or were you one of the first ones to lose, or how did it go?
Oh no, that put the pressure on our other players. I think we went 1-2.
Right.
And then we had to close the game after that. So it came down to, I think Cuba played the last game. We placed Harvey against his Scar 3.
Okay.
And
he was feeling the pressure.
Yeah, he was definitely feeling the pressure.
How were you feeling watching that game? Did you just want to shout at him like, contest the zone? or did you just have to leave the room? Or like?
I think all of the above.
Right. It is so much easier when you're watching the game.
Yeah. But we managed to win that round 3-2. So that was, I think, not by itself lucky, but it was definitely a round that we felt very unsure about during the round, and probably into pairing as well. We didn't feel great in that pairing.
Fair enough. All right. So you finished the day 3-0. You're pretty obviously delighted with that performance. Have a few drinks and so on, and then you sit down and you have a look at the quarterfinals coming up. What were your thoughts? Who did you want to see? Who did you not want to see? Why?
We did not want to see the England teams.
Okay. Why?
Because we think your lists were better into our pair than the other guys.
Okay, so you were looking at specifically like, okay, these lists, let's have a look. Ooh, a couple of zeros, maybe a minus somewhere. So let's, we don't want that stuff.
It was simply team composition.
Okay. What did you think about our circle, Grimkin? Because we saw it from our side, but we're very interested to hear about what opponents thought.
I think the double circle was a mistake.
Yeah, so do we.
Yeah. I think the double Grimkin was really good.
We were thinking triple Grimkin could have been better.
Yeah, I would say so as well. I think Grimkin was really, really good at this year at WTC. I think we chose not to take Circle at all for our team. Also because Kruger 2 went from being like one of the can playcasters to one of the must playcasters, and Martin hadn't really played that much Kruger 2.
Right.
But I think outside of that, the nerfs were big enough that you didn't really want to bring double circle. And also
we can agree after the fact.
And also the meta changes as well. There's slight meta changes due to the Oblivion release that affect Circle in a big way.
Yep. We've everything you've just said. We found and agree with. Interesting. And when you were looking at Poland South, just since we've got the captain of said team here, what were your thoughts into that team?
We felt better into the Polish teams than we did against the English teams. We had done the pairings for both before on the I think on the Thursday, Friday.
Okay. So you had a look. You just gone right. We prefer those pairings. Hopefully hit those. All right.
Yep.
So we go into day 2. We're 3-0 up. Who did you hit?
We hit Italy Mario.
Okay. And is that Italy 1?
That's Italy 1.
Cool.
So my game was again one of the games where I knew the matchup and he didn't.
Okay. And which one was that?
I played Syria against Kruger 2.
All right.
And as Tomasz can say, when both players know that matchup well, it's an interesting matchup.
Oh, yeah.
Have you got many games into Assyria, Tomasz?
Yeah, quite a few.
How'd you like it?
Oh, it always feels like some kind of puzzle to solve. Issyria would put 2 tridents base to base in front of her, and she would push them, protecting with Arcane Vortex. And you need to find a way using terrain to stay in scenario, not to get pushed out of it.
Speaking of scenario, do you want to see Invasion or do you want to see Bunkers, King of the Hill? Do you want to see something really live or really dead?
I don't care at all. I just want to see a place where I can build my bunker and push Circle off the table.
Okay. And is that what happened in this game?
Yeah, the setup is basically you do double tridents, as Tomasz said. Then you do double heavies as well in the middle. So the heavies would be pushed into the tridents. And you put Assyria within Arcane Vortex of all of them. And you do something behind Assyria that has the arm buff that allows you not to be pushed.
The anchor.
Yeah. So you don't cast it on Assyria. You cast it on something else just because of the other fact that he can get some trees on you and get boosted rolls.
Sorry, say that again.
You don't put Inviolable Resolve on Assyria because there might be an odd chance where he can find an opening and shoot you up with.
Oh, the Purgation guys, the Wildwoods.
Purgation guys, yeah. So you put it on something behind Assyria, so Assyria just doesn't move because she gets pushed into the other guy behind her.
Got it.
And you push it up the table and you try to make Kruger feet in a way that doesn't give him much, because if you do it right and the terrain is good for you, that will happen.
And what did he try to do?
Exactly that.
Right, okay.
We played Titty Fuck.
Yep. Invasion.
I pushed everything in the middle. He didn't split his army enough to go to the 2 sides or
zones.
Yeah, or even just go to one of them, like with most of his army. So I just push everything up on the table in the middle. He feels like he has to do something and goes up and feats, but also have to back away because I still threaten really far because I don't get pushed anywhere.
Yep.
And I win on scenario.
Okay, on scenario, on invasion, right? Okay. So you really just pushed him off. He just couldn't stay in.
Yeah, and it's hard for Kruger if he doesn't have experience in that matchup. My experience is not that great, but I managed to get some preps before WTC.
Yeah.
So setting it up correctly took some practice for sure. I fucked it up so many times against Asbjørn on the second team. Right.
Well, I suppose it saves you a bit of clock, doesn't it? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, because from my perspective, it's usually just the case that Kruger player is waiting for Issyria to fuck something up. Like at some point, every player will do a mistake and you need to know when to strike and how to capitalize on it.
Yep. I think the hard part of that matchup is Kruger getting to contest this area on some of the scenarios with just the right amount of tools that allows that opens up the Syria bubble so he can strike back.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. And your team won that one, was it 3-2, 4-1?
We won it 3-2.
Okay.
And we won our first 3 games.
Okay. So you just took the first 3. And do you think it was do you always think it's better to tell your teammates once you've won?
Yeah. I do.
Yep. My teammates, bastards that they are, didn't tell me, and I had a very stressful game in one of the rounds. And they just didn't tell me, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sweating away. And then they're like, yeah, it's all right. We'd already won anyway. Motherfuckers!
It was a good round for us. We had Christian and Cuba winning their skill matchups. And me finishing really early.
So getting a break. Nice, down the bar. Although I guess not at that stage. So
well, actually, yes.
Were you really?
Yeah, we had beers after the first round.
Casual bastard.
Sure.
Bunch of casuals. You don't deserve it. Right.
We had one beer, though. We deserve that much.
Well, no, I'll grant you that. We were out by that point, so I can't talk. So you head into Anarchy and the semifinals, and who do you meet?
We met Poland South, which is Tomasz's team.
Yep.
I guess he's talked about that round as well in your podcast.
Yes, but not your game. So what was going on in your game?
I'd be interested to hear about the matchup process as well.
Sure, tell us.
The matchup versus what again?
The matchup process going into Poland South. So you're going in and...
We felt we had the decent list against the Poland teams. So for us, choosing tables would be just the correct thing to do in both cases for us. I felt we got okay pairings, but the tables helped us, I think.
What did you think, Tomasz?
As I said in our episode, I think the terrain was very important here in this round, especially because whether we are choosing tables or matchups, I didn't find there wasn't a big difference in the outcome. I think we would get 2 good matchups, 2 bad matchups, and 1 skill matchup anyway. And those matchups were between 45 and 55%, so you could skew them with terrain. Mm-hmm. And there were 2 dodges that were very easy to dodge, so they weren't an issue. And for example, there was an issue of I couldn't find a good way not to drop our other circle into retribution. It felt like it just needed to happen. And if we choose tables, we can get a nice forest in the middle, and this matchup will become very playable. But without it, it was just bad.
He had a forest. It was really not great for him.
Yeah. Was it Central Forest?
No. It was the perfect killing field table with the lake and the forest somewhere off the center.
See what I mean? Yeah.
All right, so talk us through the game. How did it go?
I play against Arthur. Against Iona, I feel pretty good against Iona, to be honest.
Why on earth did he drop Iona? What was his second list if he dropped Iona?
Chromac 1.
Chromac
1.
Yeah.
Chromac 1 bones.
I would say on that table, he's in trouble anyways.
What, that sounds horrible.
So...
That's not 45%, Tomasz.
Maybe not on this table, but
no, the table was the issue. I think the matchup it can be playable.
Without Phantasm?
Yeah, without Phantasm on a good table, it can be playable.
Yeah, Iona can go really wide, which Gareth doesn't like. And on Anarchy, I think we rated those matchups also taking into account the scenario. And scenario was really good for Iona. I think it's the best scenario.
That's true. She does
Iona.
like that scenario. Yeah.
And he has the ambushers, which is good on that scenario as well. So I wouldn't disagree with that. But the problem is that there's nowhere to hide.
Right. Okay.
So I get unlucky and not kill a full unit of Tharn Ravagers. So he can charge the remaining one and the Stormbird into my Trident, which I set up as a trading piece.
Okay.
But the important part is that the one Thorn that is left, they had mortality and everything. I shot them up like big time. So I basically needed to roll boosted 8s once more. Okay. So I had some misses as well. So he scores with that turn because I haven't really set up a contesting piece in the zone. So he can score with that and I can charge my Trident. So that keeps him in the game longer. But he has to do something, and then he decides to trade for the Trident. And after that, I just use clock and attrition him out.
I mean, I assume you just vaporize his bird the following turn.
Yes, it's like Garrett does his shot with arm piercing and mortality.
Yeah, that's +5, right?
Yeah, it just
or +7 with mortality.
It just totally goes away.
Yeah. That feels really rough.
Not even close. It's not a great trade for him, but he feels like he has to do something. Because if he doesn't, I'm just gonna swap for his second unit of Ravagers and shoot him up instead. And
he knows that's coming the following turn. So
yeah,
with no terrain, that just sounds absolutely horrific.
But he's. I think the match went on a little longer than I anticipated. Because of that one counter Ravager living and scoring him 1 point earlier in the game.
So it gave you a little buzz.
Arthur played that matchup well. This is just so hard for him. It's like I choose the tables. It's not a great matchup for him, anyways, and I choose tables, and I choose one of the worst tables for him.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I don't know how you guys saw that the matchup, Tomasz, but.
Yeah, we didn't see it as a good matchup. It was just, as I said, like without the tables, we just need to play some difficult games and guys need to just skill them out. Like there's no way around it. Yeah, really. And the funny thing is when I saw, because you were playing the table next to me, I looked at your game at some point and I think I saw the Storm Raptor charging and I was like, if Storm Raptor is charging into your opponent's lines, it's probably this point in the game when he's just going for a win, because you usually don't commit your Storm Raptor early. And then I saw a lot of Blood Weavers in the left zone, so your left zone, I think, and some Ravagers in the right zone. So I told a friend that we are going to win this game. And like I kept playing my game, and then I looked again at your table, and like there was nothing there. And I think there were Blood Weavers in the right zone. And from what I asked Arthur, he kept all those Blood Weavers and you were able to kill them. So late game, he didn't have anything to contest your zone. So you'd score on both his and your turn.
That's one of the problems is for that matchup is that you can't really score, because if you score, I'll kill so much. If you score in a central zone, in circular zones. So you might be able to score in like 1 if it pushes really, really far. But if he tries a high-scoring play, he will suffer so badly for it, and he very rarely gets enough scoring to win the match.
Yeah. So I've asked him why he didn't run one Blood Weaver a turn just to have something for contesting. But this is what he said. Like he wanted to get the scoring, so he ran the Blood Weavers to get the point, but I think
that play was totally correct, because he had one extra score from a round before that I didn't really anticipate him having.
All right.
He needed to put some pressure on, basically. Yeah. All right. But that whole round ended up 4-1, and we mentioned that we thought there was maybe 2 good, 1 medium, 2 bad. Which matchup surprised you a little bit positively, Sverre? Which one were you not maybe expecting to win and you did?
I'm not sure. I think Serenia against Silvestro is hard for Serenia, but we kind of got. We didn't get lucky, but Christian was losing on attrition.
Yeah, basically his opponent clocked, lacking like 2 minutes or something like this. Left an Archon on 1 box.
So I think that was one of the matchups that we thought was a little better for us than it turned out to be.
But then it ended up coming down to clock.
Yeah. I think the Harby versus Montador matchup there was some small mistakes made that turned the matchup around.
Yeah.
I don't think it's great for anyone, but I think Cuba got a hold of that match due to Marcin focusing too much on some press gangers or something. No, it was press gangers going in. I can't remember the details, but that was. I think the two matches we felt most comfortable with was Abby into Aldwych and me into Iona.
Yeah, don't worry. I think we covered the Cuba in his episode, so don't worry about that one too much.
Those were the matchups that we thought we are going to lose. The Sirenia and Montader were there that we thought that we are going to win, and in our head it was all going to be decided on Kruger 2 versus the Child, and I had a lot of practice in this matchup, so in the end it was the only matchup we won. But
well, at least you got the one you were fighting for. So you're now 5-0, top of the world, and another quick beer and into the finals. So this time against the other Polish team, and you're on Recon 2 this time.
Yep.
How do you like Recon 2 as rep?
I love it.
Why?
It's a nice scenario because I have a lot of pieces that score in their rectangular zones, and people standing in their rectangular zones are usually within my shooting range.
Right. If you're there, you're dead. So.
And not necessarily, but it at least allows me to stop my opponent's scoring really easily. Or forces him to be in range of things for scoring.
What are your throwaway contest pieces?
My throwaway contest pieces, electromancers and the snipers, if they need to be.
Okay.
Are usually like the first ones to get thrown away. Electromancers
and
a lot.
Is that why the electromancers had the CA just as a 1-point throwaway? Yeah. Okay.
So nice. they're an extra dude when I need it. But they're usually on the throwaway duty. They do some odd work and then get thrown into a zone for anti-scoring.
Fair. And why not?
And the Feynet as well is really good for that, especially if he finds a spot where it's hard to take him out.
8 points.
Yeah. But if he stops my opponent scoring for a turn and allows me to shoot an extra turn, that's worth 8 points any day.
And then you look at the Archon and cry.
Yeah, true. But sure.
But you don't have the Archon, so fair enough. All right. And so, who was your opponent, and how did the match go?
I played against Saltu, against Pavel.
Yep.
He had a Saltu list with the Hydra, which I think was a good choice of list, because it gives you -3 range on everything you want to shoot up. I think the Saltu list I fared the most was Germany's your version with 3 shield guards.
Sasha Michal's.
Yeah. But I didn't really prefer playing against Saltu with that Hydra either. So it wasn't really one of our choices to play that.
Gotcha.
But we got to shoot sables again. Poland Centrum won their all, but allowed us to choose tables, and we were quite happy with that because we like choosing tables. So I got a good table again, which helps. I got the ice table this time, but still really good for Recon 2. That game just basically, I think the most important part of that game is that if you see it on stream, it's the fact that I kill his Hydra really early. And after that,
his mistake,
it's basically game over. It's his mistake.
Okay.
I understand how he can make it, because there's it's like a sweet spot where you should stand and where you shouldn't stand. And the fact that he was outside of 3 from Supreme Guardian, but inside 13 of my AFG.
Oh dear.
So I go for the big boy play. I called it, I think, on stream as well. Of walking Gareth just outside of 3 inches of his Supreme Guardian, casting Mortality on his Hydra, repossing 5 away and feeding and shooting up his Hydra.
Okay. And what stops the Supreme Guardian going
and not
mental
touching anything else?
Okay. What stops his Supreme just hurting you?
What stops his Supreme just hurting me? 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 What stops Firstly, the Fey Knight is just standing in front of the Supreme.
Okay.
And he has to remove the Fey Knight somehow. One of his units is bogged down by my Banshee that gives failing, so he can't charge before he kills it, and he doesn't have any tools to killing it other than his Supreme Guardian. So, or the dudes as well, but it's not that great for him if he uses dudes, because then and all the other immortals that want to charge my Fey Knights go into my feet.
And get popped.
And he doesn't have feet because he used it the turn before.
Okay. So on his feet turn, you just basically he gave you his Hydra. The only thing that you can hurt on his feet turn.
That's not really true either. No. In the Solitude list with one Supreme Guardian, I can shoot up his immortals on feet.
And would you want to?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
If it gives me a full unit of immortals or something close to that, I'll take it.
Okay. Fair enough.
The snipers instantly kill 3.
Right.
Then the AFG kills 2. Usually.
Yep.
Garrett mortality stuff. If he doesn't, that usually happens before, so he doesn't have tough. And Garrett kills 1. Then harpies, and it's really not that hard to kill a full unit of immortals.
If he gives you position and range on them, you've just got so many guns.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And when he has only one Supreme Guardian, his resurrection isn't that strong, so I can go for it.
Okay. And how did that game close out? How did you get into the end phase?
It was basically over after I killed the Hydra. I feed and kill the Hydra, and he has to do stuff, and after that, I just kill everything. Oh,
right. So it's just a pick you in condition.
Yeah.
Okay. And was yours one of the first games to end?
No, Martin's was the first game to end. He killed Harvey with Absolonio. Super early.
Okay. And then yours, and who was the deciding game?
Then Juan's.
So when Juan won, you could basically shout and scream and go and buy beers.
Yep, and then Christian decided he didn't want to play anymore. And Cuba decided he wanted to play his game.
Right, okay. And what was your celebration urge? What was the first thing you wanted to do when you'd realised you'd won?
I don't know. I just felt a little unreal. It felt like we were so in the zone for playing. It just it felt somehow odd to actually end up winning. It felt like we were just playing it round by round and hoping to do well. And it felt for us.
My God, it's gone well.
Yeah, there's extreme joy in it, of course, because of course you wanted to win, but there's also the thought that sure we had something go in our favor along the way to allow us to get here.
Right. So you maybe feel a little bit blessed, a little bit lucky, but also you're rewarded for your effort.
I think you always do when you win something like this. I think you can have a team do well. You can be pretty sure if you have good people, you can do well at an event like this. But to take it all the way, you need something special. I think.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's definitely true in solo, and no less true in team.
I think it's probably more in solo. It's probably even more random because then you have so many dodges as well.
Yeah, I think that solo is more where luck helps. Because the year that I won the Swedish Masters, it was because I didn't hit the horrible anti-animag lists, and the one that I did, my opponent happened to make an enormous cock up. So it's you need luck to win those 6-round tournaments, or a really broken list. Preferably both.
Preferably both. I think our luck was a little not meeting the England teams because, at least on paper for us, it seemed better for us to meet Poland. I think from my point of view, it was like a triangle where we were more we thought we were better off against Poland. I think Poland was better off against England, and England was better off against us.
Yeah, we were certainly, especially after the practice game that we'd had on Friday, we were more confident than we were when we'd started, because you were definitely one of the top teams that I personally was looking at as an opponent. But definitely Poland South was very much on that list as well. Poland Centre were kind of off our radar a little bit, to be honest. I think they were off a lot of people's radars. Like, not completely, but a bit.
Yeah, I think in quarterfinals we got England Knights, and then for some reason they changed the pairings. And I remember that I was hoping not to get Norway. There was, I think, another team on this list, but anyway, we were happy with English.
Yep.
So I think the Triangle Fury sounds right to me.
Yeah, it sounds about right to me as well. I think it's probably about spot on. And so what does the future hold for Sverre? Are we going to see you again next year? Are you going to be taking one of the Norwegian teams to WTC, or are you switching faction, or are you taking a break, or what do we expect?
Well, I initially thought I would take a break for a little, like at least a month. That didn't really happen. I went down to the club and I thought, oh, I like this. So I haven't played any games yet, but I've just been to the club and hung out and watched games.
Some watch machine.
Yeah, and had I need to play now. But Retribution is definitely going into storage.
Okay.
I think they're too much focused on Gerd too. He's a really, really good caster. But the faction is not that well balanced.
Internal balance does feel a bit like skewed. You feel a bit restricted.
Yes, and I think also the Trident, which is one of the greatest strengths in the faction, is not a great model to have on a high level of war machine play, because sometimes you don't roll enough shots, or you don't roll enough tokens, or both. The average,
and if you want to win 6 rounds, you can't have those shit the bed moments from the Tridents happening.
Maybe you can, but it doesn't feel great when you roll 4 shots and a single token. If you can avoid
let me tell you, it feels absolutely fantastic from the other side.
Yeah, if you can avoid going into the opponent's army that turn, it's okay. But sometimes you can't, and then you have one of the models you need to rely on, because it's one of the best models in faction when it works like it should. Not doing its work doesn't feel great, to be honest.
All right. So what are we going to see instead from you?
Crix.
Okay, going back to your roots.
Going back to my roots. They just feel probably not better. Like if you look at just the Garrett to pair with the Syria. But there's so many more options, and you don't rely so much on a single model.
What are you excited to test? What casters do you want to just go and just whack on the table and have a go with?
I'm looking really forward to playing Rahera.
Okay.
I think she's one of the casters that will be really good when you play her enough, but she needs to be played a lot.
Which theme are you fancying with her?
Fancy her in Scourge.
Yep. All right. Well, I'll be interested to hear about that. That sounds cool. And what would you potentially pair her with?
I don't really know yet. I'm also excited to play Scar 2, and she's one of my old favorites. Jonas took her to VTC this year.
He was playing the Kraken Charybdis thing, right?
Yep, we talked a lot about that list before he went. I really like playing Scaverus. I really like playing Denny 1. Denny 2 is one of my old favorites as well, or one of my new old favorites, probably. You could say it like that.
Skara 1 and 3 haven't been mentioned, and they're sort of fan favorites.
Not for me.
Not for you.
I don't especially like their playstyle. I think Skara 1 is too much of a, this is what Skara 1 does. There's no tricks. I'll just push everything in your face and hope it works. And she also has the D6 you roll for Ritual Sacrifice is really important.
Yeah.
Especially if you go with the really heavy battle group versions of the lists. Has been doing really well. I don't disagree that the list is good. I just don't like it that much.
That's fair. No, I mean it's cool. You play what you want to play, and also these are the few months when you can dick about and play what you want.
And Skartry as well. I think she had her run as well in the meta where she was interesting for people. I didn't really play her that much then either, because she doesn't really work that well for my playstyle, I think.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, cool. Well, one more little reminder. Tell us again when Conquest is.
Conquest is held in Oslo from the 10th to the 12th of January 2020.
Lovely. And Tomáš, any little shout-outs or anything else you want to say? Nothing from Tomáš. Lovely. Sverre, anything you want to say, or anyone you want to thank, or anything like that?
Always a shout-out to the club. And it's simply because we have so many good players and great people to play against at the club that we manage to do well at these kinds of conventions.
And if anyone wants to just come and drop by the club, are they all right to just drop a couple of euros and have a game, or do they have to be a member or whatever?
We have the membership thing, but everyone is allowed to bring some friends for just like some odd intro games or whatever. But we try not to like have people not being a member and then just dropping by very often.
Sure. But if one person was having a city break in Oslo one weekend, they could get in touch with one of you guys and sort some games out.
Definitely.
Right. Okay, cool. So keep it in mind, guys. It is a very strong meta and an absolutely lovely bunch of people. So get involved. Sverre, thank you very, very much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure as well.
And Tomáš, as always.
Yeah, thanks, Sverre, for coming to the show. And thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you for having me.
Take care, guys.
Bye.